Hey guys, Ryan here from Master Temp's Bass Blog, and today we're looking at walking bass lines. A few quick things before we begin. If you're watching this video on the blog, great, stay put. If you're watching this on YouTube or IGTV, check out the link in the description or the link in my bio for the full blog post on this. It's going to talk about what a walking bass line is, how to write one, and how to set your tone when playing walking bass lines. Also, big shout out to Damian Erskine. He's got a great post over on notreble.com on walking bass line construction, and that was actually the inspiration behind this post. So thanks, Damian. So today we're going to look at a jazz standard called Lady Bird. So I wrote a walking bass line for this one, so first we're going to watch it and listen to it, and then we're going to break it down and analyze it. Okay, so here's my walking bass line to Lady Bird. So listen to it, follow along with the notation, and then we're going to take a look at what's going on behind the scenes. Check it out. Okay, so here is the notation for the bass line you just heard. Now I'm not going to break this down note by note, but I did want to point out a few key takeaways here. So first, let's hone in on these first four measures here, and I want to explain the use of diatonic or the scalar approach versus the chromatic approach in this walking bass line. So as you can see here, beat 1 of measure 1, we're starting on C, because we're playing over a C major 7th chord here. So we're starting on C, using passing tone D to walk up to E, which is the 3rd of the chord, and then we're going to use that same passing tone D to walk down into beat 1 of measure 2, because we're still playing over that C chord. So we're going to land on C here, walk down to B, which is that major 7th of the chord, and then use the passing tone A to walk down to G, which is the 5th of the chord. So you'll notice that all the notes here contained within the first two measures are played diatonically, because all these notes can be found within the key of C major, which is the chord we're playing over here. Okay, so let's go to measure 3 now. So now we're switching chords and we're playing over an F minor 7th chord. So here we're starting on F, which is the root note, using G as a passing tone to walk up to the minor 3rd, the A flat, but you notice between beat 3 here and beat 1 of the next measure, we still have one more beat to fill here. Because as of now, we're just walking up the F minor scale, right? So F, G, A flat, and then the next note would be B flat. But since we've got one more beat, we're going to use an A natural here. So we're going to walk up chromatically, and that'll lead nicely into that B flat of measure 4. So let's zoom out again and look at this bass line as a whole. So one more thing I want to point out is the fact that probably 90–95% of this bass line, every time I'm hitting beat 1, I'm playing the root note of whatever chord I'm landing on. So if we take it from the beginning, we're playing over a C major 7th chord here, so I'm using note C. Over here, I'm playing over that F minor 7. I start on F. And you can see this throughout. So over here, we're playing over an E flat dominant 7. I'm using the root note on beat 1 here. The only places this doesn't occur is here at the very end, where we're playing over that D flat major 7th chord. Instead of using the D flat, which is the root note here, I'm starting on E flat and walking down to the root note. And the other place that this occurs is here in measure 10. So you'll see that up here in measure 9, this A flat major 7th chord carries over into measure 10, and instead of landing on A flat here on beat 1, I'm landing on G, which is the major 7th there, and walking down. But starting here at measure 10 is really what I want to focus on right now, because even though I'm playing the root note on beat 1 almost every single time, you don't necessarily have to do that. So here's what I wish I would have done here in measures 10 and 11. So you'll see that the note D is played here on beat 4 of measure 10, And then we drop down a perfect fourth to this A to land on the root note, again, the root note of the chord here. But here's what I could have done. I want to show you an alternate bass line here. So instead of jumping down a perfect fourth to land on beat 1, I'm only moving down a whole step to land on the minor third, which is C, of this A minor 7th chord. So you'll notice how the entire direction of the bass line changes just because of this one shift. So let's go back to the first one and we'll listen to what this sounds like. And this is, again, the original version. So we're going to listen to this. Okay. And now here is the alternate version of that same bass line. So you can see how changing that one note can change the entire direction of the bass line. And potentially it could have changed the rest of the bass line for the rest of the piece. Sometimes I like to think of walking bass lines as a choose-your-own-adventure game or a choose-your-own-adventure book. So I may be showing my age a little bit here, but if you guys remember the Goosebumps book series, they had a couple books that were basically choose-your-own-adventure books. So it puts you as the character and it puts you into the book, right? So you might get to the point in the story where it says, you know, choose this action, jump to page 8, choose this action, jump to page 92, and those actions, whatever you chose, had different outcomes. So again, I like to think of walking bass lines as a choose-your-own-adventure type game or book, where one decision, one change of the note can take you on a completely different path. Okay, so let's zoom back out again. And the last thing I want to touch on, I want you to notice the general flow and the general motion and direction of the notes throughout this piece. So you'll see that you've kind of got this wave or hill motion going on here, going up and down. And you know, there's a few skips here and there, but for the most part, you get this nice little consistent motion going on. So in this particular bass line, you'll notice I'm using a lot of, intervals of seconds and thirds, sometimes fourths, to get from place to place. Now you'll notice there's no drastic jumps like an octave or anything like that, although you could use an octave if it were appropriate. So just remember, in music theory and in walking bass lines like this, there's guidelines, but there's no hard rules that you have to follow. So you have to know when to follow those guidelines and when it's time to break them. Alright guys, that's it for today. So as always, thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this lesson, leave a comment on the blog or YouTube or Instagram or wherever you're watching this video, and we'll see you next time.